Hello, everyone listening to the Awards Watch podcast. I am your Awards Watch editor in chief, Erik Anderson, and this is episode 247. And it's Wednesday, August 14th. So we are prime in the Toronto and New York Film Festival final lineups, schedules, and what all of that means. And that is why we are here. We being myself and Ryan McQuade, executive editor.
Sup, everybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Ciminello, associate editor.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. After that, Ryan, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Unsettling introduction. Let's dig into first the Toronto editions for the galas and special presentations. Lots of things we knew were going to be there. And of course, our favorite part being the designations so that we know a little bit more about what we're going to see at Telluride. And we'll talk a little bit of Telluride, but we're going to do a full pod on that.
That's next week.
Next week. But just to roll out the galas for Toronto that were added are Megalopolis, the Francis Ford Coppola, which is coming out in September. So this is where it's going to end its run. It's going to be Cannes and TIFF. Kind of odd, but
not really. Not really.
Yeah, but I expected a quick little dip over into Telluride here, but it is a North American premiere at TIFF, so that means no. And then we have Nick Ham's William Tell. Kind of interested in that, maybe. I don't know. But one big thing was Saturday night, the Jason Reitman Saturday Night Live film, which is going to be a Canadian premiere at TIFF.
Wonder what that means.
Can't imagine what that means. Maybe we'll talk about that next week.
Look at you teasing.
Yeah.
The magic words, Canadian premiere.
Exactly. They're really my favorite words.
Even though if you saw the social media, they said it was world premiere when they premiered the poster. So it's like, I think somebody is getting fired.
I don't know about
an intern
getting fired, but it was
slap on the wrist.
Maybe just delete the tweet and retweet. That would have been the right thing to do, because
if you're verified, I think Elon allows you to edit. Right?
That's true.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Well, you're best friends with Erik, so I wouldn't know, but that's
wow. Yeah. Speed dial.
Yeah, exactly. You had really great time on that Twitter space the other night with him.
We are trying to do a much more efficient podcast.
I can't believe we went there.
Yeah.
And here we are.
It's just recapping the week. We were on, it's just, hey, it's trying to make it.
People are trying to like run on treadmills and eat their lunches and listen to us. So,
man, I feel bad for those workouts. I'll tell you that.
I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ryan McQuade. We also have quite a few jumping over from Venice, like Babygirl with Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson. The Room Next Door, Pedro Almodovar, Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton. The Brutalist, the new Brady Corbett that is 412 minutes long, or however long that is.
They get longer.
I know.
And an intermission. What we like.
Luca's queer. So there's a lot that are jumping right over to TIFF and then New York as well, as we'll talk about in a minute. What do we think about that?
Sophia, you want to go?
Oh, go ahead.
I have a big theory about it, is that this is almost like a revenge of TIFF for last year. We were at TIFF, me and Erik, last year, and it was not the best festival. It was probably the worst one I've ever been to in my life. And just in terms of the quality and what the premieres were and what of the films in an impeccable year of movies for premieres, it was very, very just underwhelming. And I think it shows that if we're not in a strike, that they have the power of being able to have these red carpet premieres and have these stars, and it doesn't, you know, schedules don't conflict with another festival. And Venice is it seems like the premier destination for most places to start the Oscar runs nowadays, with Telluride being also that other one, but maybe a little bit minor, definitely minor this year given the lineups, and we'll talk about that next week and this week. But TIFF seems to have come back with full force. They've got new sponsors, and they needed a year like this, honestly, to be fair, after last year. And but it is very telling that, and we'll get some reasonings later as to why some of these films, other than scheduling, were not allowed. I mean, there are clear big films in this race that are going to Venice, TIFF, and New York. And then they will play all these other festivals. So they will not be going to Telluride, which is a huge thing and speaks to, I think, the selection of Telluride, and also speaks to how maybe studios see a path going forward. And obviously we need a couple more years of maybe that to really test all that. And maybe it's a little bit of a punishment for some studios. I don't know about like, hey, well, you know, you went on with filmmakers and everything last year. And I don't know if this is a retaliation or not, but it is very telling that like every one of the big films that were like, that are auteur driven are essentially like, nope, we're not going to Telluride this year. And but TIFF, man, they've got everything. If you're at TIFF, you're going to be eating pretty well with cinema.
Yeah. That's the thing with TIFF, is that there really is something for everyone. It's not like you have to wait for New York to see a lot of these, like Queer and The Brutalist. Like they're there too, right? It's not this. I think sometimes when we think about what TIFF is, it's this star-studded festival with populist picks. They have a People's Choice winner, which is usually a good signifier in the Oscar race. And this year, I think it does have such a great spread. And some of these, because I'm not going to TIFF, I'm excited to see at New York. And there are some I wish we could get at Telluride. On Swift Horses being a world premiere. I wanted that to say Canadian premiere so badly. Babygirl, I was hoping that because of that scheduling slot at Venice could also make its way over to Telluride, but it's not. You know, seeing Nicole Kidman there would have been great. It also actually makes me think about Amy Adams and her tribute for Night Bitch. I think in an even more competitive, really strong TIFF, like this isn't just like she's getting a tribute in an off year. She's getting a tribute in what is presumably a really strong festival lineup. So I'm thinking that actually might be an even stronger show of confidence for that performance.
And on that, something that sleuths do very often every year is hunt out how many screenings a film has once the schedule comes out, how many public screenings, because that has an impact on that People's Choice winner. You know, if something's only screening twice, it has a much harder chance of garnering enough votes, you know, versus something that has 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or more. And on top of that is also scheduling and placement and timing. And Night Bitch and On Swift Horses have prime Saturday night Princess of Wales showings. Those are clearly the 2 major films of the festival. And that is pretty impressive. It's really impressive for On Swift Horses to, as a sales title, to do that. But on top of the TIFF tribute, this is becoming an Amy Adams coronation in a way that I think a lot of us saw as likely or possible. And it's certainly kind of getting there now. Emilia Pérez has 7 screenings.
That's huge.
Major.
Yeah.
Major. And this is we talked about this with Netflix. kind of focus on one film specifically. They have it everywhere. It feels very strategic. It feels very much like what they did in 2021 with The Power of the Dog, where they are not looking to buy titles. They have their title. It was received extremely well out of Cannes. It'll be at Telluride. It'll be at TIFF. It'll be at New York. And they are full steam ahead with it. And I think that that's great for them because they've had a lot of films over the last couple of years, and they've sort of spiraled to try to fit they've tried to be like this lineup from TIFF, fit everyone's like, oh, we have the mystery, and then we have the war film, and then we have this, and we have the psychological drama. And it's like, yeah, focus on one thing, please. And if you can do that, then you might have a hit on your hand. And I think that they are primed in the right position to get an audience. One of those three top, because like the audience award is divided up into like almost like a medal count. It's like a gold, silver, and a bronze. Like they have a top three. So if it's inside that top three with all those screenings and the anticipation building up, yeah, I think it's played itself very, very well strategically for that prize.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad to see a Netflix doing a bit of a back to basics, because they've spent quite a few years with so many projects and just kind of running themselves ragged trying to get the most nominations and have so many films. And this is a very different season for them, of almost no pickups and really focusing on just two things. They have this and the piano lesson, which will make a couple of festival appearances as well. I think it's really smart. I want to look at, there's really one more, I think, major, or not major, but a big world premiere that was announced for the special presentations, and that's Max Minghella Shell, which is really a curious one to me. It has Elizabeth Moss and Kate Hudson and Kaya Gerber, and an eerily similar theme to The Substance from Cannes with Demi Moore, about, I don't know, maybe not body horror specific, but certainly about makeup and aging and young women versus older women. So I'm very curious about that.
Me too. Even just that still that they released from it of Kate Hudson and Elizabeth Moss made me very excited for it. I think this theme really just will continue to be a hot topic for films. And yeah, I'm excited to see both of these, Shell and The Substance. I have to say, I just love the character names here. So Shell, we have Samantha Lake, which is just a classic, feels like a soap opera name, and Elizabeth Sparkle from The Substance. Just, you can't get better than that.
Yeah, it's really something. And it was funny because that still from Shell, the first thing I thought of, because it's in a makeup corporation, made me think of Catwoman with Sharon Stone and Halle Berry. Similar theme. And there is also one of the still images is of Sharon Stone behind Halle Berry with like her hands on her shoulders. And if you like look at them side by side, it's like, oh, okay, this is camp. Okay, let's.
It was, for me, it was giving Jude Law and Carrie Coonan The Nest. It was like very much like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything. I was just like, oh, there's something here. Like it's gonna get. Yeah, I can feel a wild third act coming on, much like what we've heard from The Substance. So, yeah, it'll be really interesting. I know some critics are already seeing The Substance before it starts going again back out, because it's going to release before its TIFF premiere, or no, around its TIFF premiere. It's going to premiere at TIFF, and then like I think a week later, it's in theaters or something like that.
20th.
Yeah, so it'll be really quick, but it'll be one of the most talked about films of the year. We will talk about it on an upcoming episode down the road, because it will be, sounds very polarizing. So this will be a lovely inclusion with that.
Anything with women looking in the mirror at each other, sign me up. December. favorite movie of
Exactly.
last year.
Who
There
will
we
have
go.
the lisp? We'll find out in a couple of weeks.
Donald Trump has the list. We already know.
Yeah, yes. Well, you
Mhm.
listened, so you would know.
All right, we're gonna jump to New York, which just this morning, the morning of this recording, announced more spotlights. And those included Jesse Eisenberg's A Real Pain, Pablo Larraín's Maria, and Jacques Audiard's Emilia Pérez, as we were just talking about. And the decision by Searchlight to move A Real Pain from October 18th to November 1st, so smart. So glad they did it. It's going to be at every single regional festival during that 2-week period. And the miles that Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg are going to be able to accrue during that 2-week period is going to be quite something.
Yeah.
But it was a smart move. It was a really, really smart move, and I'm so
Mhm.
glad they did it. It's a great film.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
I'm really excited to see it. Every time, like, not that you can base everything off of New York audiences here, but when I saw that this was added to the spotlight section, I just thought, of course, because when this trailer has played, when I've gone to screenings here, movies here, people just do that thing where they look at each other like, oh, that looks good. Like, people seem very into it. So I feel like that decision was so smart. And Searchlight, we know they can run a campaign, especially for their actors.
Multiple.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good.
I was really shocked with the Spotlight gala premieres that they didn't have a nod to Todd McCarthy's film, because like it seems like with Spotlight, it won Best Picture. They didn't do anything with that. Like it's kind of doesn't seem right. No, these
Okay, Jay Ledbetter.
That really took me a minute there.
I was like, wait, does he have a film I'm missing? And
where is
then
he going
clicked
with
right in.
this?
it seems pretty rude. No, I mean the movies were kind of expected for the ones that we got. The interesting note was no Saturday night premiere there. There was a rumor for Joker Folie Deux, for showing up, and which probably is great after all the drama with Joaquin Phoenix, that didn't show up. And it'll be very interesting to see how all that drama plays out over the next couple of weeks with the Venice premiere and then the movie coming out. Should be a fun press tour for Lady Gaga to have to handle that. And feel bad for her, really, I do. And I mean, there was obviously even the rumblings of certain people online saying like, will one of the surprise films maybe even be a complete unknown because it's in New York and it's such a New York film, and that was never going to happen. And it's nice to see that. Maria being here is very interesting. It's skipping out on TIFF, but it will be at Venice and Telluride and New York, and it's still kind of then makes you wonder, when they're going to announce who's got it, because somebody does have to have it at this point. And yeah, I mean, and we already knew the big headliner, and I think Erik wants to talk about this real quick. Is I mean, of the Spotlight Alice was queer, and it's kind of placement in there, but yeah, it seems like Emilia Pérez is gonna probably take that big spot that like Netflix has usually every year. They had it last year with Maestro, and yeah, A Real Pain. I mean, that is a movie to just keep an eye on throughout this entire race, because I know you guys talked about Night Bitch earlier, and how that Sophia gave the optimistic version of that. I also, we've seen places give awards to people before and it turned out to be nothing as well too. And so I know it's a big award and a big prize, but if that's it could be a very divisive, polarizing material that doesn't sit with the Academy, and they could make the pivot over to this movie, which has great reviews, has a performance that could will easily be in the supporting actor race, could be a screenplay contender. It could just go down that sort of easy route that you kind of start seeing the screenplay supporting actor win, and it starts reminding you of a certain film from 2021. Hopefully it's better than that, Coda. But it seems like a very good strategic move. So I'm excited by these films, and I'm excited to see most of them, either before New York or to see some of them at New York. I'm excited to be able to see movies like Queer and Maria maybe again, and Emilia Perez again. So that'll be good.
Well,
the thing with Maria. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the appearance of Emilia Perez in the spotlights and not as the opener, centerpiece, or closer is again, I think, another very smart strategic move by Netflix, because they have had a movie in one of those places for quite a while, and
Many years.
It puts a big target on them. They always are going to have a big target every year, and this year is they're going to get to kind of go in a little bit under the radar and a little bit as underdogs, and it's just smart. And this is a movie that's going to definitely challenge people, but this is the way to do it. This is like a discovery rather than a shove down your throat.
Well, it is a discovery. I mean, it's not like they have a Todd Haynes film, or they have, a Scorsese, or they have a Baumbach, I mean, like, they have a film that is, I mean, we're all kind of considering it to be that welcome by the Academy for the foreign language director spot. You know what I mean? That,
Absolutely.
So, and it can very much be like that for this film. So they're playing it very smart, and I've got to commend them so far. And I mean, it was interesting though that they don't have like the piano lesson, and they don't have some of their other films. It's just that announced in the spotlight too. So they're not oversaturating themselves at that festival with that. They really are just focused primarily on one title, which is great for them, and I think great for that movie's chances, because I think we all know that the piano lesson, I mean, it's all, it's August Wilson, and it's got Samuel Jackson, and it's got names to that cast, and it's going to have the power of the Washington family behind it, because I have a feeling they're going to be everywhere to support Malcolm for that. But yeah, I feel like they're like, we know what we have with that, but we know definitely what we have with Emilia Perez. So
I'll say this: I've seen a little bit of the piano lesson, and I was shocked at how great it looks.
I'm reading
shocked.
I'm reading the play right now, and I'll be very interested to see, because the play is only like 100 pages, and so it's very small, limited play. So that movie, I believe, is like, they're saying it's 2 hours long. So we'll have to see how they expand it out, which would be interesting for an adaptation standpoint, because, those movies, those like Fences and Ma Rainey, they've been very, very closely tied to that original material, almost to a fault.
Yeah, and constrained by very staging. And piano lesson looks very cinematic. I can just say that much. Surprised.
Put that on the cover.
Good. Yeah. Look cinematic.
Look cinematic. Not stagey.
Quick note on the Emilia Perez strategy. You using the word discovery is really important, because that is really the only thing that has benefited Netflix in the awards race so far. It's when they let people discover those films. And this, yes, they've dubbed it as their film, so to speak, for award season, but if it still has just a little bit of that discovery element to it, I think it will serve them well, and I'm rooting for it. Again, I haven't seen it yet, but the best actress race is already shaping up to be really interesting. It's always the best category to follow, but this year too, I mean, if we think of Maria, I was thinking about that kind of alongside Maestro from last year, not in terms of performance or what the movie could look like, but if you think about the location of it, a New York screening absolutely makes sense. A Spotlight, you have the Metropolitan Opera House right there. They could do something really cool with that in the same way that they did with Maestro at David Geffen Hall. So I think that a lot of people were paying attention to Saturday night as that possibility of, oh, we can get the cast here. It's this New York movie.
Lauren,
and Maria is really, if you think about it, the more New York Film Festival option. I think it fits more nicely into their lineup and what the programmers tend to go with. But I don't think Jackie or Spencer did New York. So this is new for Pablo Larraín too.
It's fantastic. And and it is really an American story. Maria Callas was an American-born singer, so yeah, I think it was really smart, and I love the idea of the appeal of New York.
Erik, would you call it an American saga?
I would not.
Oh, damn. All
I
right.
Part
would
one or part
Part
four?
1, part 4, part 3. What are we doing here?
I would not. I'll be really
It
curious.
is part 3, technically.
I'll be curious to see what Faye Dunaway thinks about this Maria Callas movie.
Look, it's all I want to know. I'm desperate to know.
I want her to be at NYFF at the premiere.
Honestly, I know that Sophia, you people, like you were saying, were thinking about the Saturday night film being kind of center stage and everything, because SNL is obviously, it's in New York and everything. But Lorne Michaels being born and raised in Toronto, I expect the jump from Telluride and then the big event to be also not just the premiere at Telluride, but then the big premiere at Toronto. And they have a bunch of screenings for that too, which also plays well in for that film to be part of the audience award. That is the most audience award fucking movie of the entire TIFF lineup. If that does not get
very much so
one of the top 3, holy shit, then forget about it. Like, forget about it. And you know, it just feeds into the expectations, I think, for that movie.
It also feels like a prime candidate for like the art movie for grown-ups.
Oh, the AARP?
Even though like most of the cast is young, it's totally gunning for that intergenerational award.
Yeah, it's like, I remember SNL when they didn't have restraints. You know what I mean? When a joke was a joke and people used to laugh. You know?
Chevy Chase defenders.
Oh my God.
come out
They're going to
for
be
it.
all over the place.
It's going to be
It's
something.
the best Dan Aykroyd's ever looked in his life, and it isn't even Dan Aykroyd. My God.
I know. All right, we have a couple of other announcements and things to talk about before we run out of here, and that is the Gotham Awards announced that it was actually a big announcement. They have 2 new categories. An official Best Director category is what they've previously had, is just a breakthrough director. And then they're bringing back the breakthrough performer category, which they used to have. And also kind of tucked into the announcement of this is splitting off the TV awards. They were together, now they are separate. Probably the right choice. You get just too long of a show when you have both of these things together. And I'm kind of glad for this, because the concept of the breakthrough director was great. It was wonderful, but it just gave these nominations that just felt very disconnected between main features and that award. And when I was sent the press release for it the day before, it didn't specify, but something I definitely wanted to know is somebody eligible for both? Can you be a breakthrough performer and a regular acting nominee? Can you be a breakthrough director and a regular director nominee? And you cannot.
Oh, so it's kind of like Indie Spirit. Yeah.
And because the Gothams, as we know, are literally decided on by 5 people, it's a very, very small nominating committee. If there is a situation where a director or a performer has votes or chances in these 2 competing categories, they have to figure out amongst themselves how to decide on that. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah,
that is. And it's a good thing, I think, that they're split, that they're able to recognize more people if they're doing a breakthrough category, just nominating the same person twice isn't, I feel like, as effective as if you do split them up. I think recognizing more people at something like the Gotham Awards just makes sense, given how these things are voted on, like you said, but also just, I think, the mission of it and who tends to win these awards in the first place. So yeah, I saw the announcement too. I'm excited for it. The Gotham Awards, I went last year for AwardsWatch. It was very fun to get to really see, I think, the kickoff to award season. And of course, Charles Melton winning supporting performance when he should have been Oscar nominated. It was a good moment to celebrate that.
Probably the kiss of death.
Probably.
Because that's what usually happens at the Gothams is it's a kiss of death. And it's yeah, I mean, like, congratulations. She announced two more awards for you know, we get on Critics' Choice and we get on all these other places for their illegitimacy into how their voting body is or what it's like 5 people in a room and their biases will come through. And I know we know some of those people sometimes. And it's like, I don't know. I like, you know, it's not the way I would. I mean, it feels like an extension of like the New York Film Critics Circle a little bit at times. It feels like it feels like just obviously like when Air gets a special prize. And like Sophia, you were there last year and people were like, what the hell? I don't even know what the hell. Yeah. And Barbie's getting a special prize.
No one knew what Air was. No one at my table had watched Air. They all just loved Maestro.
They were like,
everyone was over 65. It was great.
Yeah. So it's a weird thing. It will be interesting because I do think it'll be back to more of a smaller base this year because we don't have as many big expensive films into the race. And I always think that it's like that and Indie Spirit, they're great because we get to highlight, you know, some random movie that we love that will not get awards play down the road. But then when you think about like who votes for Indie Spirits and who votes for the Gothams at the end of it, you know, they're no different. You know what I mean? In terms of their impact on everything, you know,
it's not the same people, and it's a very different.
I mean, it's
people. It's not the same at all.
It's no crossover with the Academy, and so when people try to say, oh, they started the race and it's like, yeah, there's extension of critics prizes or internet awards at this point.
You're missing an enormous amount of context by being so flippant about that, though, because when you are first, it sets the stage. That's the same reason why Amy Adams Award is meaningful, because it sets the stage. That's not the same as saying that it has the impact of the Oscars. But when you start collecting accolades, that gives people that extra push of maybe I need to see this.
Outside of Divine Joy Randolph's win, what win crossed over then later in the season with anything at Gotham?
And she was winning everything. Did really well at Gotham's, and I remember like that. Not that it started at Gotham, but it just showed, I think, like people across like many different groups, countries, voting bodies really like this movie. Take it seriously.
They also did,
and then critics groups did that for Anatomy of a Fall throughout the season, and we know historically that any non-English language film has to have the backing of that just to overcome that hurdle.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like obviously the top prize, and it's usually over the last couple of years it's just not been much of a crossover there, or in the obviously the director categories.
It can be its own thing.
Yeah, you know, the Gothams are
agree to disagree, I guess.
They're just the Gothams, guys. It's like,
no, I know they're just the Gothams, but it's still kind of fun to have another awards ceremony that
it's nice that Charles
group of films.
It's nice that Charles has an award, because god damn it, he should have had more. But you know, Sterling K. Brown got his nom or something like that. You know what I mean? So
well, that makes me want to consider the Gothams as more legitimate than the Oscars.
There you go.
Well, no. You know,
if you're using that logic.
Exactly.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff that goes. I mean, every awards body is their own thing. I just think that like, just because you're first does. I mean, you're right, Eric. It does give them that place to say like we are first. But so like when in January, when these things start really mattering, like the Globes are first, and then Critics' Choice are first. That's when it really begins.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
But that path begins somewhere. It doesn't begin at the Globes. It begins.
And the Globes also
earlier.
Don't have crossover.
Well, it kind of begins really with New York film critics and the Los Angeles film critics, actually, more than it starts with the Gothams. You know what I mean? Because they're not televised.
Sure.
You know
if you say so, Ryan, sure. Agree to disagree.
I just
think they're fun, and I had a good time.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not
going to win me.
I'm not discounting your time there, Sophia. I'm just saying, like, you know, they're a nice party. Who doesn't like a nice party?
I love a party.
Yeah, who doesn't?
All right, moving on. And talking about actual Oscar stuff. The international feature film submissions have begun. We currently have 3, and the newest is Latvia with their animated Black Cat Annecy Award-winning movie Hello.
Eric's #1 movie of the year.
I
Don't
can
even need to see it. Don't
already
even
bet
need to
it.
see it.
It's already my #1.
Oh,
I can't wait.
to see this.
Are
Yep.
you
This
Flo?
is the cat is so cute. And just again, this story of him, like it's about this cat after his home is devastated by a great flood. Ugh.
Jesus. Good Lord. That
No,
sounds so
that's
sad.
what happened to my cat. He was in a hurricane at a shelter, and then I rescued him. So I'm gonna cry.
You, Sarah McLaughlin. My God. Latvia.
Oh my God.
It's so sad. Like that just sounds so sad. I feel bad for the cat.
I'm
But
gonna
it's about his new life,
Ryan.
his
I know.
his new adventure.
And Flo is getting a good festival run. We'll see that at Telluride, and it's popping a couple of places as well. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oops.
I did it again. Yeah, it'll be around. Like, it'll be interesting to see if it can break through. It's very rare that, animated films break into the international feature.
It's not, and Latvia has never been nominated. They're not,
So Eric's saying it's a front runner right now.
But Sideshow and Janus are the distributors, and they are amazing in this category.
Very good. No, they are. They put on great campaigns.
Very good. And just as of right now, the other 2 selections we have are Kneecap from Ireland and The Devil's Bath from Austria, and they both have distributors as well. And
Erik, wasn't it that I saw, or I don't know if this was confirmed or not, but the what is it, the sacred seed, or the
seed of the sacred fig?
There you go. That Germany was considering it on its long list of films.
Yeah, that was a nice little twist.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So
I think that could happen. I think that could happen. And we're gonna have some more. Chile and Portugal announce their short lists. Wow, what was that whistle? Short lists.
It's the awards train. Woo woo.
I guess. And then of course France has yet again changed their voting background lineup. And
you must feature 3 croissants in your movie in order to get,
hopefully for good measure, because they have been doing pretty poorly.
Decade. Yeah. I mean, they look like, I'm sorry, they look like fucking fools last year. They really did. I mean, that's the thing, is like, we knew about the success of Anatomy at Cannes. We knew about it when all of us were seeing at these sold out screenings and at film festivals and everything. Its momentum was from Cannes onwards, right? We just needed to see it win maybe more than just critics prizes, and win like those Golden Globes and other things. But like it was such a no-brainer, and they just continuously just shoot themselves in the foot with the popular films. Like they would have easily, I don't know if they would have easily beat Zone of Interest last year, but that would have been a much tighter race than it was at the when Zone won. But yeah, I mean, they keep changing all the rules. Good for them. They're probably not going to win another Oscar this year, because that group seems to be a little bit of a mess,
Well, it depends on who they push forward.
Well, what do they have this year? Like, what are their?
I don't even know what their short list would be. We don't even know where Perez is going to end up falling.
That was the other thing I was wondering about. Like, where does that push? Also, I know sight unseen and whatnot, but like how much? I know last year this was like the thing with Anatomy. It's like how much English is in the film as well too. I'm sure there's a good enough,
more of Zone and where where it's coming
Yeah, zone two.
who gets to put it,
claim it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the much more interesting part to me.
They both are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't trust France with their Oscar submissions.
these are your people.
They are my people. Half of my people.
Yeah.
We'll see what the Italians do too.
They're coming off a great Olympics.
France and Italy have always been the biggest winners here, and the last decade has shifted away from that. It's not a bad thing. That's kind of a great thing. But it also is reflective of the choices that they're making. Yeah. A little old-fashioned.
Very much so. But,
yeah.
I mean, we do get exciting new wins. So, but I mean, if anything, the Academy needs to change their rules and allow those filmmakers to win those Oscars and not those damn countries. Because those damn countries didn't have anything to do with it other than maybe some money. You know what I mean? So
the idea that the UK has an Oscar and not Jonathan Glazer
it's pretty messed up.
Offensive.
That Hamaguchi doesn't have that Oscar for Drive My Car. Like, come on.
It is something that's certainly, I mean, obviously it irks, fans of the Oscars immensely, but it just also is something that it doesn't really make sense that they've never changed that, because why not align it with documentary feature and animated feature where the director and the producers win? That's kind of why would you not
the point? Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like Pixar's got all those Oscars. It's it's Brad Bird and Pete Docter and Andrew Stanton and all those previous winners.
It's just an archaic choice.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's also for that guild for that section of the Academy to make those changes. Like, somebody should speak up about that. But also those artists might be in other categories enough to not make those changes, because you have to specially designate yourself or something. I don't know. It's but anyway, international feature. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for closing out.
You know what? It's what I'm here for, folks. I'm here to talk about international feature in the Gothams.
Yes.
I was gonna say, and the Gothams.
And the Gothams. Ryan McQuade's favorite awards show.
I'm actually covering the Gothams this year. It's going to be wild. I'm
going to be so much fun. Just
tweet from the room being like, look at all these people eating their discount Caesar salads. It's going to be awesome.
Great.
Oh my God.
Thanks, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Anyway, that does conclude this week's episode. So that was well timed, Ryan. We will be back next week with more festival talk as we do our predictions and preview for the Telluride Film Festival, which kicks off in less than 2 weeks, right on top of Venice. And the three of us will be
on top of
Telluride, and I can't wait. I want it to be there now. Ryan, please tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, I hope everyone had a great workout, and you get some recovery, maybe some electrolytes in you. Just make sure you also eat a nice lunch or breakfast or dinner, depending on when you did this workout. It's very Jane Fonda by the end of this. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade 77. You can find all my work here at AwardsWatch.com. Listen to Director Watch, listen to the Monday shows. And just keep on walking. Get those 10,000 steps. That's all what you really need. Plenty of water, folks.
And Sophia, where can everyone find you?
10,000 steps a day are very important. I absolutely hate that when you said eat after a workout, I thought of Patrick in Challengers eating the banana courtside. Now I'm distracted, but you can find me on Twitter at Sophia_Sim. You can find me on Letterboxd at Faye Dunaway. You can find my podcast, Oscar Wilde, wherever you find podcasts. A very exciting episode coming very soon. And you can find reviews, interviews. I have a lot of fun coverage coming up on Awards Watch.
Also, don't forget, carbs are important. So if you don't want just a banana, have a churro.
Yeah. 2 churros.
Yeah, 2 churros, Have them with your significant other. It's actually good to have a friend go and work out with you in case something bad happens. So anyway, Erik, where can we find you?
You can find me looking for a new executive editor. Applications are open. Yes, please come to awardswatch.com. That's where you'll find me living and sometimes breathing. Sign up for the newsletter. And yeah, we are underway with festival coverage very, very soon. We have people at every festival, at Venice, at Telluride, at TIFF, at NYFF, and everything in between. So thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back next week.